Joining us now is our guest host for the next hour and a half, Mike Jackson, current CEO, chairman, and president of AutoNation, soon to be executive chairman of the company. What's the date?
Well, when the new CEO is selected by the board sometime in 2019, upon arrival, he'll be the new CEO. And I started thinking about this a few years ago and looking ahead said, you know, in 2019, I'm going to be 70 years old and have been CEO 20 years. That's sort of like a rule of 90. I'm breaking through, and that would be a good time to hand the baton to a new CEO. Company's in great shape. We've built a brand that's trusted and admired by consumers. Our customer satisfaction is through the roof. We've set 20 straight years as #1 automotive retailer in America. Brand extension is coming to life. So rule of 90 next year is a good time. Now, the board, I'm very happy to say, has extended my contract through 2021. I'll become executive chairman sometime next year, handle the transition, and wake up as the new CEO.
So this is really looking forward, thinking about how you want to do this, taking your time to find the right succession.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Have you groomed anyone in the company? You're looking outside the company?
So this discussion with the board has been ongoing since, I would say, with more intensity since 2016. And we all sort of agreed on an approximate timeline, and now we're making it official. Of course, there will be internal and external candidates that will be considered. And another thing I feel very strongly is that CEO succession is the #1 responsibility of the board. And our lead director, Michael Larson, Joe, who you know, will lead the effort. And again, it'll be a very intensive succession process. And I would say, as far as the qualification, we're looking for an outstanding business leader. And I'm sure they'll select one. Now, whether Joe will have my charm, I can't say that for sure. But it'll be an outstanding
golf skills.
Golf skills that I can't predict, but I am sure it'll be an outstanding business executive that I will hand the baton to.
Has anyone done a look back on some of the metrics that what you've done over the past 20 years, where the stock was, what kind of return we're talking about? I don't want you to have to toot your own horn, but what the returns have been significant given where the stock is right now. And I remember at one point in 2008, anyone that bought it would be doing pretty well by now.
Well, I remember $3 to $4 a share twice in my 20-year career. Shortly after I joined, the stock bottomed out at $4 a share.
Right.
And in 2008, the stock bottomed out at $4 a share. So
as auto sales collapsed.
As auto sales collapsed. Yeah. The great auto depression, not recession of
and no one had ever done this, really, a roll-up with auto dealerships. And Wayne had done it with other... Wayne Huizenga, the
our
late
founder,
great,
our legendary founder, who you and I both loved and enjoyed playing golf with and traveling with.
And we didn't know that that it really was going to be he thought it would, but there was some question at times about whether this model was applicable to car dealerships, wasn't there?
Joe, you know me, I like a challenge.
But it worked.
And what we've done, we've built a brand from coast to coast.
You know, Mike was a mechanic.
I started in this business as an apprentice mechanic.
With the big fancy German cars.
Yeah, okay, I like German cars, so do you.
yes, that's true.
So building a brand from coast to coast and then taking the scale of the company, over $20 billion worth of revenue, and combining them to create new profit opportunities and new business fields for the company is one of the most exciting things that we've done over the last years. And what I'm also very proud of is that the company has a purpose that drives it every day, looking for a cure for cancer, particular focus on breast cancer, and how this has been embraced by all the associates across the company. And with our flag, Drive Pink, and putting a pink tag plate on, now it's on 2 million vehicles out there, and have people coming in and say, hey, you know, I didn't buy the car from you, I'll buy the next one, but can I have a pink plate? So that we sell cars, fix cars, and we're driven to find a cure for cancer, gives a singular unified purpose across the company. So to your point, Joe, starting with something that was thrown together by acquisition and building a culture that's not a poster on a wall, but really drives everybody every day is very special.
You know, Mike,
it's quite something. And the numbers are good, too.
For me, you have always been a straight shooter and talked to us very honestly about what you've seen in the pipeline, how sales are coming, your concerns along the way, when you think things are strong. It's always given us a great economic indicator to hear what's happening in your business, especially when you see sales of trucks going up, and that's because of the contractor business. I just remember how clearly you've kept us on track with that. What do you see happening right now?
Well, it's nice of you to say that, Becky, because if I look at our 20 years together, because we've shared this journey, I've been here on rainy days and sunny days.
Yeah.
You call, I come, and I got a point of view. I feel pretty good about next year, 2019. I think the economy will still be fine. I think vehicle sales will still be in the high 16 million range, maybe back off a percentage point or two because of substitution into nearly new. For the industry, the shift to trucks, of approaching 70%, in August actually broke through 70%, really underpins the profitability of the U.S. market. Trucks are very profitable for suppliers, manufacturers, and for us. So the outlook is pretty good for the industry through 2019.
Pretty good sounds like you do have a few concerns. We've heard people talk about peak auto for years at this point.
Well, I declared peak auto on this set,
Yeah.
I think it was January 2016. I said, okay, we're at the peak, but it's a nice, enjoyable peak. I think it'll continue to run until inflation rears its ugly head and the Federal Reserve raises rates significantly above neutral.
Because of what it would mean for auto loans?
Yes, yes. Once inflation breaks out, the Federal Reserve will raise rates to tamp down inflation, which makes the cost of housing and automobiles higher. And that will have an impact on the business.
What's neutral?
But there's no sign of inflation at the moment. And Joe, to your point.
What is neutral now?
Neutral is much lower than what it was
Is it just the
a
new
decade
normal,
ago.
really?
3.5%?
There's a new.
Well, if
there's a new normal.
GDP goes up more than it was for that period, more than people said it can't go above 2% anymore because of, I don't know, productivity and population or whatever reasons they use. What if it goes back to a consistent 3%, which we're all hopeful for, obviously, then the new normal wouldn't be as low as we are right now, would it, for rates?
No, I think inflation has really been stabilized.
So,
there's no sign. The whole key question is the labor market. And so far, we really have a Goldilocks situation where you have people who left the labor force returning. So that while you have low unemployment, there's more workers coming back into the labor force every month.
But you think
so that could run for a few years.
I mean, if people in the past were willing, with a lease or a purchase, to be up in the high single digits, you think that if it doubled from where it is, all of a sudden they're not going to like it there?
The difference is that cars cost a lot more than they used to. I mean, if you're talking about a $60,000 or $70,000 loan.
But that's all inflation adjusted too.
No, the cars are
Listen, let me be clear. Once inflation rears its ugly head and the Federal Reserve decides to raise rates above neutral,
what happened to the 10-year, 11-year age of the average car that hasn't been replaced? That's all been taken care of?
Joe, all I'm saying is the day will come that when we're not there yet. It's still over the horizon. But I think the idea that the consumer is willing to pay any rate that has no impact on consumer behavior.
I'm just asking whether it's from a low level, if it doubles, but it's still at a historically low level. Is that what we're talking about, or is there an actual number where suddenly people feel the pinch? It's a question we ask about everything. The other thing I'm asking is whether you're willing, the trade-off of having a really strong economy is higher inflation and higher rates. When do you decide, wow, I'd rather not have as strong an economy because the headwinds are actually self-fulfilling from the high rate? I mean, you would normally like a really strong consumer. You would like 3% growth. But if it causes inflation and higher rates, you wish you didn't have it? Is there a perfect sweet spot?
We're in that perfect sweet spot.
Right now.
And we may be in that sweet spot for a few more years, in that you have very low unemployment, but with workers returning to the workforce. So the wage inflation is very much balanced and under control. So this could go on for quite some time.
By the time it's over, will we be like walking around and not hearing any cars because everyone's driving around those electric vehicles, and you just don't even know you're outside because you don't hear any cars anymore? You certainly don't hear any muscle cars.
No,
is the transition happening or not yet?
Yes. No. We're in
Audi yesterday.
We're past the inflection point on electrification. Electrification is.
When is it 30%?
Oh, that's probably a decade away.
Only 10 years.
10 to 20 years away. 30% of what's sold. Not 30% of the cars on the road.
It's going to be all Teslas, or there's going to be some Audis, some BMWs?
Well, I think if Tesla's there, that would be still there. That would be quite something. That would be impressive.
So there's going to be 30%. Wait a minute. So that's
another way to look at it.
Well, that's a statement right there. So there's going to be 30% electric cars, but maybe none of them are going to be Teslas?
Well, we'll have to see.
Because of the hat that his brother wears.
Yeah. I almost wore that big cowboy hat today that you were showing.
You would
off
never.
Yesterday.
You would never.
I was going to bring a joint and a Jack Daniels.
I don't mind the joint. It's that ugly
big
hat.
Cowboy hat.
Yeah,
and take some tips from my fellow CEOs.
So
and declare I'm running for president. I was going to do that also. But anyway, Mark talked me out of it.
Do we have time for Lutz's comments? Because it's okay. Here's what Bob Lutz said, which was
Tell me.
Not very nice. I think we're going to show it.
They will never make money on the Model 3 because the cost is way too high. He's got 9,000 people in that assembly plant producing less than 150,000 cars a year. The whole thing just doesn't compute. It's an automobile company that is headed for the graveyard, and I've predicted this for some time. I continue to predict it.
So graveyard. That's sort of what I just said, didn't I?
Yeah.
So I agree with Bob.
You do?
Yeah, I do. In other words, you need to go to electrification, you need a sustainable model. So what the mainline manufacturers are doing, they're taking the profits from trucks and subsidizing electric vehicles to get through the difficulties. And Tesla is being subsidized by the shareholders, which he wants to go private, but the shareholders have got him this far. And you have to say, to Bob Lutz's point, on the Model 3, if you're skimming the top like he is now, he's only building, if you spec it out above $50,000, you may be okay. It'll build it for you in 2 months. If you want one at the $35,000, he may never build it for you.
Okay.
Mike, the criticism is going to come from people who say, of course, you and Bob are going to criticize this because you're the old line industry that's threatened by his new approach.
I am totally excited about selling electric vehicles. We are all in.
But Tesla doesn't use auto dealers.
Oh, that's fine. I never fought against that. That's his call. AutoNation has, we're big in California. We could have fought it. We didn't. We didn't challenge him in Florida. AutoNation has never challenged Tesla's distribution model. They're free to sell them whatever way they want. That's their business. If you're saying, like Lutz's point, is this a sustainable business model? I think when you're skimming the Model 3 with a bait and switch strategy, maybe it works, but there's going to be a day of reckoning.